All right. Thanks for joining us on the Thursday Night Hockey Show. I'm Dave Valente, and joining me as always, Travis Aurednik. How you doing, sir?
Good, Dave. How are you?
Good, man. We got a full slate of hockey games tonight on the NHL circuit. Tonight, starting at 7 o'clock. So just dropping the puck here momentarily. Ducks, Canadians in Montreal, Hurricane Senators in Ottawa, Devils, Lightning in Tampa, Golden Knights and Panthers, which would be a great game in Florida, Florida. Islanders and Kings on Long Island, Penguins and Kraken in Pittsburgh, and the Blue Jackets will be hosting the Rangers. All those games starting at 7. We got a couple of 8 o'clock starts. The Flames and the Blues, the Canucks and Jets, and the late night game is going to be the Predators and the Oilers.
Yeah, and I'll be listening to it on my drive to Florida.
Florida. What game are you watching now?
I've got the Carolina game.
Yeah, that should be a good game. Ottawa's playing better. Man, I was going to watch the Panthers Golden Knights game, but I'm cheating tonight. I'm actually, it's World Cup qualifying for the U.S. men's national team soccer, and they're playing El Salvador. I feel sorry for the El Salvadorians. Like, it's like 3 degrees in Columbus, Ohio, and where they're from, it's like 83 degrees.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's Columbus is cold right now. So I considered going to Ohio for work, and then I remember 2 things. Cold front, and I hate Ohio. So passionately hate the state of Ohio. Really, I like 2 people from Ohio. If you're from Ohio, anybody watching, I probably don't like you.
Oh, you know what? I actually have quite a few friends from Ohio. I love Ohio people.
You do?
Not much on the state, though.
Are they from Cleveland?
They're all over. They're all over.
Do you know anybody from Cleveland or Cincinnati? Because I got one buddy from Cincinnati. He's okay. Everybody else, I'm good, man. I got enough friends. I don't really need to make any more. There might be good people there. I'm just not going to look for them. Sorry, guys.
Well, there goes our Ohio viewers. Sorry about that.
They're Blue Jackets fans. They're used to being let down anyway.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's actually a guy who lives in Scotland now who's from Ohio that will tune into the show every once in a while.
Oh, really? I'm sure that being a transplant, he knows that state sucks. That's a nice thing. Once you've been outside, it's like you go back to Ohio, and it's like, man, I really thought that I escaped this weird postmodern POW camp, but nope. The only place worse than Ohio is Indianapolis.
I've only been to Indianapolis once, and I was just drove through to pick up somebody on the way to Chicago. I really haven't spent much time in the state of Indiana.
I broke down in Indianapolis once, and it was bad. Like, I had to pick between trying to find a phone to call help and keeping the wheels on my truck. I guess I was just on a bad side. I mean, every big city has a bad side. Like, that's not special,
sure. Yeah.
But where I was at in Indianapolis, I don't know what it is.
St. Louis
is just a bad side.
No, it's like, it's so intermittent. It's like one block will be beautifully restored, like gentrified mansions, like row houses and shit like that. The sharing the backside of the alleyway would be like crack dens, and then across the street from the crack dens are just bombed out shells of houses. There was no rhyme.
Sounds like Milwaukee. Milwaukee's like that.
Yeah, there was no rhyme or reason to St. Louis. I lived there for a year. It was just the oddest place I've ever lived.
The first time that I went to St. Louis, or not St. Louis, the first time that I went to Milwaukee, I was with a now ex-girlfriend, and her family was from Baraboo, so we went up to Milwaukee so I could go to the Harley Museum, which is actually where I bought this shirt. Weird. This has been like 5-6 years ago. I'm still wearing it, but I bought the shirt there. Anyway, so we go. We're trying to find somewhere to park. We go to the top of this parking garage, right? I'm driving her Jeep. It's like this much room on both sides trying to get up there. We finally get up to the top of the parking garage. Only place we can find a spot. We park next to a BMW M5. So you would think this is a nicer area. Get out of the car. There's a homeless tent city on top of this parking garage. They are renting spots monthly for their tents. They have their permits displayed on the tent.
Huh. I mean,
we go, there's a door that says elevator, right? Cool, whatever. We go to the elevator door. We walk into a lawyer's office.
oh yeah, you told me about this. Have to go to the
Yeah.
lawyer's office to
We walk through the lawyer's office. We get on the elevator. We come out the bottom. We're in a burger joint. But we were walking past like townhouse doors that were like cut in half, and there were people that had like bodegas set up in the foyer of their townhouse.
That's so random.
And you would just walk up and be like, "Yeah, I want a bag of chips. You know, give me a hot dog." Like, and it was that's just Milwaukee. That's how it is because it's so small, man. It's so tight.
You gotta. Somebody
TJ gets it. So
actually, Michelle McCutcheon, who's the membership director of the Libertarian Party, she says that the worst place. She's actually just outside of Cincinnati. The worst place in the U.S. is LAX, which I've heard. I won't repeat that. And then she says, "Go Bruins," and no.
Yeah, we're good. I'm all right. I don't need any of that.
Tonight's episode is officially termed "Men Behaving Badly." There's been some just awful behavior last week, and
it brings you down to even talk about this stuff.
Yeah. So we'll get started. So Drake Batherson, the leading scorer for the Ottawa Senators, is out at least 2 months with a high ankle sprain, perhaps a fracture, on a questionable hit from goalie for the Buffalo Sabres, Aaron Dell.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, you done messed up, Aaron. I mean, okay.
It made me like him more. Is that bad?
Here's what I've got to say. I've watched this team for the last decade and a half just shrink from everything. To see a guy throw hits out there like that, even if it's a cheapie, I'm okay with it. I mean, it's a 3-game suspension, well earned by Aaron Dell. It just means that he is, he doesn't limit his bad play to just between the pipes.
Oh, hey, actually, real quick, Bleacher Report just came through. Have you seen this? I have not seen this yet.
Is it
Evander Kane just signed with the Oilers?
Yeah. I saw some reports that said that he was going to do that.
Well, I saw that he was going to sign with Carolina. I saw that he was going to sign with Anaheim. Like, I've seen a lot on Evander Kane recently, who has been the subject of some of our undesirables talks that we've had.
Yeah. Another man behaving badly.
The Oilers. Wow. That's going to beef them up.
But it doesn't address what they need, which is.
It doesn't, but, I mean, it's going to make the Battle of Alberta more interesting.
Yeah, it will. I mean, it's going to – Edmonton's going to win and lose 7 to 6 games. I mean, it's going to be like the mid-80s. But, it doesn't address what they need. And again, this is a team that's not going to be long for the playoffs if they don't do something to address both their defense and their goaltending.
Goaltending is an atrocity right now.
Another story with Evander Kane is that his trustee, the trustee who manages his bankruptcy, is requesting that they terminate the defamation suit that he has against his estranged wife, girlfriend, whatever she is.
That makes you wonder what's going on.
Well, they're saying that even if he wins the case, that they're not going to get anything out of her. So there's no real reason to spend money on a case that really has no financial merit to him at this point.
See, that sounds like you're going to beat me in court, but if you do that, I'm going to release this. Like, if I was going to settle up with somebody on something I can't tell people about, that's probably the exact same press release that I would make. Yeah,
absolutely. I got it wrong. Michelle's activism director of the LP. I should know that. I had her on as an interview on my other show. Yeah, I don't know if it's. I really just think it's a financial decision. Like, why are we spending money on a lawyer to, even if we win the lawsuit, get nothing out of it? Like his job as the trustee is to salvage as much money from this dude as possible. Um,
Well,
TJ,
I mean, Evander Kane has that like brick of money that he can just. Oh wait,
I think he blew that in a casino a long time ago. No, we do not like the Bruins.
we're not Bruins now.
Don't ask
I
us
love
about
the
Brad Marchand.
I love the historical Bruins, man.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite players of all time have been Bruins. It's just not today.
Yeah.
Not today.
Do not ask me about Brad Marchand.
Yeah, nobody likes a rat.
But yeah, so Drake Batherson's out 2 months, which is a blow to the Ottawa Senators. He seemed to be really developing into a nice young player, and now will probably miss the most of the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And thankfully for the Sabres, Aaron Dell will miss the next 3 games, so we have to watch him in net. So Buffalo is probably going to have to sign another goaltender before they go on their road trip, which starts off on Saturday, Battle of the Tanks, Arizona and Buffalo.
I'm actually going to put money on Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, Hauser's a good coach. Hauser, came in last year and won 2 games really, right off the bat. He did the same this year. I'll be interested to see how he does. But yeah, they need to have a backup when they go out west. They don't think that Craig Anderson's going to be ready until after they come back from the road trip. So, and I think the road trip leads into the All-Star break. So, Craig Anderson won't be back in nets for Buffalo until after the All-Star break. That's, we'll see what's out there. I mean, probably just grab some kid from college or something like that. One of those ACHA Division III goaltenders or something like that.
Yeah, man, I heard that Scott Foster's free. If you guys want to get,
not free, but
Well, no, he's an accountant. He's definitely not free, but I mean,
Yeah.
time-wise, he's got it. I don't know. It's coming up on tax season.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, he probably is not available.
Yeah, I would say that he has more important things to do right now.
Yeah, exactly. Last night, did you watch the Colorado game last night? Colorado Boston.
So I caught the highlights. The biggest
was not
of
a
which
highlight,
was McKinnon getting his nose busted. Now I watched that a few times, and all right, I don't like Taylor Hall. I haven't liked Taylor Hall since he was in Arizona. I kind of didn't like him before that. I can't fault Taylor Hall for this. I want to.
I don't know. I mean, like
the actual culprit is McKinnon's stick.
Well, okay, so the stick when he comes so Taylor Hall comes across the face of Nathan McKinnon. If the stick was not there, the thing that hits McKinnon is Taylor Hall's shoulder. That for his stick was there was the only thing that kept that from being a suspendable offense. I mean, I still think it's a dirty hit to begin with. And then Taylor Hall, like a coward, runs away from every fight.
Every single one.
So not only are you a contract thief,
it almost makes you feel bad for the guy. Everybody wanted a piece of him, dude. Honestly, I can't wait until Nazem Kadri gets a hold of him because, like, Kadri gets mad at the wind.
Yeah.
So it's always entertaining whenever he gets upset about something because you know that he's going to hold a grudge for the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Kadri will probably be the type that actually clocks him going across the middle rather than gets him to fight. He's
Dude,
going.
If Kadri was 3 inches taller, he would be Scott Stevens.
Yeah. That dude certainly can bang. But yeah, the people are excusing that hit, but I just can't excuse that hit just because, oh, well, McKinnon happened to have his stick up right here because, like, 2 seconds, if that stick wasn't there, he's caught with Taylor Hall's shoulder and he's out. And it's not a busted nose. He's
yeah. Yeah. Face down. Like Svech versus Ovi 2019 out.
Yeah, but that was a punch. I mean, like,
Yeah, no, but I mean, he's going to be
that
laid
was
out.
legal, man. Yeah, he would have been laid out, and we would have been talking a concussion rather than a busted up nose.
Yeah, which I mean, he's going to have to wear a bubble for a month. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah,
It's hockey. Somebody's going to get their nose broke. If they don't, then it's probably not very good hockey.
yeah, exactly. Let's see. Next story: former 6th overall pick and Vancouver Canuck Jake Virtanen was indicted on sexual assault charges today, and
Again.
these appear to be he was being sued on sexual assault. It was a civil suit in Canadian court in Vancouver from an incident in 2016 or 2017. This one appears to be an incident that happened last year. And so Virtanen, who already has been released by the Vancouver Canucks last season, is now facing charges for his behavior. And how the mighty have fallen with that one. I mean, he was a 6th overall pick. He had so much promise. Like Vancouver was really counting on this guy, and his career was not. It wasn't like it was an easy decision for Vancouver to move on from him because he never really developed into that 6th overall type pick.
Right.
I think he has less than 100 points in 5 seasons, and that's just not cutting it, man. That's less than 20 points a season. So for someone to be that high up, that made it easy for Vancouver to do the right thing. But this guy seems to have a pattern of behavior here. I'm glad that Vancouver moved on from him. Hopefully he sees justice and the victims get some kind of recoupment from him. Speaking of sexual assault, new details are emerging about Reed Boucher. Have you been following this story?
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Jesus, this guy's a piece of work. So Reed Boucher was a first-round draft pick of the New Jersey Devils a few years ago. When he was 17, he was playing for the United States National Team Development Program, very well thought of, or a very high thought of pick. Was drafted into the OHL by the Sarnia Sting, but while he was with the US NDTP, he sexually assaulted the 12-year-old daughter of the Billet family he was staying with. So for those people who aren't familiar with junior hockey, these kids go off and play for club teams. The National Team Development Program is a feeder system to both the OHL and to college hockey. And so these guys, kids with enough talent will go play for this team. And it's in, I want to say Grand Rapids, Michigan, where they're based out of. So they go up and live in Grand Rapids, stay with families that agree to host these kids and take care of them during the season. And while he was there, he sexually assaulted a 12-year-old. And the National Team Development Program got wind of this. He was allowed to go to the OHL, play for Sarnia. He was put with another Billet family that did not know anything about this. And then was eventually drafted. He's the highest. He set the record for the most number of goals in Sarnia Sting history in a season, eclipsing a record by Steven Stamkos. Was drafted by the Devils. Never really panned out in the the U.S. Is now playing for Lokomotiv in Yaroslavl in the KHL. And so he's kind of outside the reach of American authorities, but he recently entered a plea deal to regarding this case with the 12-year-old, and he's avoided jail time. Like, who the hell are these prosecutors? Like, I know that you're probably not going to get him into jail, but at least give him jail.
Yeah, man. It should, The weird thing is, even to give him time for it, if he ever comes back, would set an example for what happens if you do this. Like, you can sentence this dude to 30 years. He's never coming back to the U.S.
Yeah.
If he does, it's his fault. Like, he knows that if he comes back here, it's going to happen. So then he deserves it even more. How stupid do you have to be?
Exactly.
So, it's ridiculous, man, that this is the way the justice system is going to play this one. I mean,
and after this story came out, two women who were young teenagers, like 15 and 17, stated that Reed
He's trying to find nudes off of him.
Well, yeah, he was soliciting nudes off of underage girls on Facebook when he was a 21-year-old. It's not like he learned his lesson as a teenager. And no, he was still doing this shady crap, and Lord knows
the guy's mentally ill.
Yeah, Lord knows what he's doing in Russia. But watch your kids in Russia. If you're in this town of Yaroslavl, I would definitely be keeping my eyes out of my young daughters if I was there, because that guy's a predator, and not a Nashville predator, not a good predator.
Dave,
sorry, but stay in Russia, Reed.
Yeah, we don't want him. No, actually,
guidelines.
Yeah, you fucking follow the guidelines.
No, he's welcome if he wants to just go cross that little line real quick.
Yeah, we'll send him to the front.
Preferably tied to a stake.
Yeah, exactly.
Meet you.
Alexander Hutton. He says, "What's up with the Coyotes?"
Nothing. That's the problem. That's the issue as it stands.
Are they playing in a 3,200 seat arena next year?
So actually, it's closer to 5,000.
This is the Arizona State.
I have a feeling that they're going to end up playing in a 17,000 seat arena in Houston, Texas. But today I was on one of the Coyotes pages and I was talking to some people in the comments, and I was like, every comment on this post was, "Well, ASU Stadium's only 5,000 seats. Well, ASU Stadium." I was like, they're probably going to end up playing a 17,000 seat arena. I don't think they're going to be here much longer anyway, but we know that it's 5,000 seats. If you just read the comments, and an admin comes on and he's like, "Are you even a Coyotes fan?" I was like, and I just sent him a picture. I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, I mean, I hate Pollyanna fans. Like, I get that with Buffalo Sabres fans. Like, you got to deal with the realism of the suck. Like, you've been dealing with the team long enough that you got to be realistic about it. I don't get fans that are like, "Oh, how dare you criticize the team?" Well, not criticizing the team is what allows it to suck for 10 years.
Right. That's how we got here, was because nobody in Arizona cared until we got to the bottom. And then you had a bunch of, I guess it was just the off season for the PTA, and all the Karens came in and they were like, "Save the Coyotes."
Well, I mean,
we don't need your help. We understand there's a problem. And honestly, for what it's worth, dude, if they end up playing in a 5,000 seat arena, they're not going to fill it up anyway, for one. They have better chances of filling it up than they did Gila River, because it's actually in a place that people can get to. But, imagine NHL hockey with 5,000 seats. That is going to be loud. It's going to be a good college atmosphere.
That's the thing.
It would be cool for them to play in 5,000 seats.
Yeah, get the college kids cheap tickets, sponsor like fraternity nights, and just do it up. I mean, make it a college atmosphere, and a 5,000 seat arena. I mean, these kids are going to be right on top of the teams. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty raucous environment if it is 5,000 seats. If they do end up a year
14 rows.
Yeah, roughly.
I mean, that's sick. The worst seat in the house is one of the best seats in the NHL.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like to sit ringside, but you want to be close to the game, literally all you have to do is not hit row A, and you are close to the game and not ringside. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I would consider this to be a gift to the Coyotes that we even have the opportunity to play somewhere this small.
And even
Because 5,000 people is still a pretty good bit, and it's more than are showing up to the games right now.
Yeah. I mean, 5,000 people packed into an arena is going to be extremely loud. And if the Coyotes are really looking at leaving, then there's no real, you don't have to really incentivize, well, we're going to make a bunch of money off these seats. Get the college kids to come out, make it loud, make it a difficult place to play. And who knows? I mean, maybe they show that a small arena can work.
Well, do you know why I like PNC Arena more than any other NHL arena I've been to? And I've been to a lot. Like, I've hit almost all of them on the East Coast now.
Yeah.
It's small. There's a reason it's the loudest house in the league. It's not got the most people in it. It's small. It's loud. The environment's awesome because, I was hanging out at PNC before the Canes had this playoff potential, this number one power ranking potential. I was there whenever it was true Caniacs that really just love the game, love the players. I saw Svechnikov play there his rookie year. I was there whenever Dougie Hamilton returned, or not Dougie, Justin Williams, whenever he came back. Like, I got to see some awesome stuff at PNC. And part of the reason it was so cool was because, like, you couldn't get a bad seat there. It's not like PPG, man. At PPG Arena, I go see the Pens play every now and then. I'll go up to Pittsburgh. It kind of sucks. I think that it's how big the place is. It takes away from the game because there's so many seats. There's so much stuff going on. There's so many distractions. Same thing whenever I was at Wells Fargo Center, whenever I was at United Center. I was at Little Caesars. I was at even Nationwide. Nationwide's way bigger than I thought it was. Columbus sucks. The cool thing about PNC is how small it is. So if we get to play in ASU's little box, great. That's probably going to be some of the best hockey that Arizona can play.
And people forget how intimidating Winnipeg can be when, especially in the playoffs. And that's the smallest barn in the league right now. They're at like 15,000 tops because it was just an AHL arena and they haven't renovated it to put in the extra 3,000 to 5,000 seats to get it up to kind of the average NHL size.
They shouldn't. They don't need to.
No, they don't need to. I mean, that place is filled every night and it's loud and it's, especially when they get into the playoffs. The playoffs are pretty crazy when it gets to Winnipeg. So, yeah, I mean, maybe smaller is beautiful, especially in the smaller market teams. Now, it does because the NHL is so dependent on revenue from ticket sales versus any of the other sports. But still, I mean, I don't think it's a long-term solution for the Coyotes. I think it's probably just going to be a season, but do it up. If it's just going to be a season and you're going to go off to, you say it's 3? They're signing a 3-year agreement?
That's what's on the table. I don't know if that's what's going to end up happening, but right now the idea is that it's going to be
I bet
3
you there's
seasons.
Probably an opt-out that gives ASU a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Something has to give there because I don't see them staying there for 3 years. But if you go by what is being said, what's actually on the table, the option that they're given, it's supposed to be 3 years. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So, I don't fear the fact that the Coyotes would play at ASU, but it's not a long-term solution. But it should be fun if they do it right. If they invest more in getting those college kids into watching the game than going after corporate suits, because those guys aren't really going to go to the game if there's no long-term investment in the team. The corporate types aren't going to invest in going to Arizona State's arena.
I guarantee you their season ticket sales will go through the roof.
Well, if you keep them low enough, and if you have a significant, like when I went to Thrasher games, the Thrashers used to do, people always looked at the lower bowl and saw how empty it was. Every night, the upper bowl was pretty full because the Thrashers did a college program where it was like $10 seats to go to a Thrasher game. So the upper bowl would be pretty full of Georgia State students, Kennesaw State students that were in the area and some of the local Botech schools. Make sure you set aside a good student section for those games, and I think it'll look a lot better. It'll sound a lot better. It'll have that NHL feel. So, let's see.
Oh, and speaking of college students, instead of going to school, I have opted out
Oh,
and taken a supervisor position in Green Bay for a facility that's getting ready to open.
You're not going to be Aaron Rodgers' replacement at quarterback?
Yeah, man. Look at me. I'm in peak physical condition.
That's right.
I had a guy the other day in the store, and he, I guess he was from New York, and he said, "Hey, you don't have any Rangers stuff. What's the Rangers stuff?"
Rangers suck.
Rangers. I'm not a Rangers fan. It's like, and he was kind of trying to talk smack with me, and he was like 5'9", and I'm sitting down while he's talking to me, and he said something, and I stood up and just looked down at him, and he goes, "Oh, you a big boy, huh?" And he like pats me on the arm. He's like, "Oh, it's stout." He's like, you could play for the Rangers, couldn't you?
See, that's the thing. The New Yorkers got balls. That's the one thing, man.
Yeah, he took a step or two back. It was pretty funny because I mean, I'm a head and a half taller than him, and I'm just looking down at him. I probably got 110 pounds on the guy. You know what I mean?
Alex Hutton asks, "Is there any chance they stay in Arizona?" I think we're both.
Yeah. No, I think there definitely is a chance. Yeah, I think that it definitely is a possibility. And the only reason I say that is if Houston decides that it's not worth the effort to put in an NHL team, which had been on the table before, and then if Kansas City decides, and both these are long shots. I mean, to get one and the other, I don't see it happening. I haven't heard anything about Milwaukee as much as I would like that to happen. I think it's like an ideal solution. Yeah. But if Houston doesn't want him and Kansas City doesn't want him, I mean, you're buying into a failing franchise. You're going to dump millions of dollars into buying players that aren't doing well. So, I can see how it would be an issue for some places to want to put the money down to get them. It's been a long time since we had a team buyout, like an actual buy the team and move. Even whenever it happened with Winnipeg, they bought a team that had some potential, like a little bit of
decent
potential.
Players on the roster. It's just
you could sell a jersey. That's the problem with Arizona right now. You can't sell an Arizona jersey. Who's going to be on it?
Yeah.
We don't even have OEL anymore. That used to be the big one. Like you could, everybody wanted OEL jersey. I have two of them hanging up behind me. But now it's like we don't have anybody that's of any prestige. We have Kessel still.
He's gone.
Great, but he's already like 1 foot out the door. And if you watch hockey, you know it. So it's not like, you might get 1 year out of him somewhere new, but I don't see him staying. So I think that it would be a hard press for Arizona to stay in Arizona. And probably their saving grace is the fact they suck.
Well, we talked about this last week, in that if Arizona moves, they've got the draft capital right now to make a splash.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they could. I mean, we talked about perhaps landing places for Connor McDavid because he has such a high cap hit. It's very hard to move and length on his contract. It would be very hard to move him to a big star NHL team, but you could move him there to Houston. You could move him to Arizona. I mean, I know there's always the hope that at some point Austin Matthews comes back to the desert to play hockey, but I don't know that Toronto will be so keen on moving on from Matthews anytime soon.
Well, they are. Austin is from Arizona. He did say that he would have played at ASU if he had the chance. Arizona's moving into an ASU facility. I don't know, Dave. The gears are starting to light up now.
Maybe he
Austin
makes
Matthews
the trade
isn't going
demand.
anywhere. Austin Matthews is the new Wendell Clark.
Yeah, until he messes up in the playoffs, and then they'll run him out of town.
And the problem with Arizona with draft capital is we have never had a real.
You guys have made some really questionable draft picks.
We've made some terrible decisions,
and
we do it frequently. Every draft, we do something stupid. If we ended up with like Shane Wright, then I mean that right there is enough for me to buy into Arizona being able to draft.
But you can't mess up the first overall pick. Well,
you can't. Well,
if Patrick Stefan is the first overall pick.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The nicest thing about Arizona right now is that we have nothing. We don't have an offense, we don't have a defense, and we don't have goaltending. And it sucks in its own special way, but it also means that we have a completely clean slate to work with.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So, as long as we get a high draft pick, I don't think that we can make a bad draft pick.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure I'll eat those words later.
Well, I mean, it's not that they make bad draft picks, but they go off the board to make a questionable draft pick. They'll pick a guy that's rated 92nd by Central Scouting as their first round draft pick in the top 5, and you're like, who?
We draft like Seattle.
Well, yeah, you draft like Seattle does in their expansion draft. Yeah.
I would like to think that I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that if Arizona was an expansion team that was coming in right now, they would have made the exact same choices as Seattle.
Possibly. I mean, I think that they're going to be burning some players. I think Chikrin's going to go at some point this year, and I think Kessel's going to get dealt. Basically the only guy. Clayton Keller's still on your team, right?
Yeah, for 8 years.
Yeah, that's right. He did sign a contract.
Barrett Hayton. We have Barrett.
Oh, and you got the Ghost Bear too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
still can't believe that we got him for free.
And then this Vejmelka guy is not bad. I mean, he had a rough start.
He will be a fantastic 1B goalie one day.
Yeah, I mean, but he's kind of holding that team. He's kind of screwing up their chances of getting Shane Wright.
I can't blame it all on him. We have no defense other than Ghost Bear.
Well, no, I'm saying he's kind of screwing up their chances of getting Shane Wright because he's winning games.
Oh yeah, because he's actually pulling a rabbit out of the hat.
Somewhat competent.
I agree with that. Yeah. No competency allowed. Get out of here.
He's gonna get his ass traded, man. That was like when we were doing the tank for Eichel or McDavid, really. We got can't remember which goalie we got. We traded for a goalie and we traded him immediately because we're like, no, he'll probably win games.
That's the attitude that we need to have right now.
There you go.
That's the vibe I'm looking for from Arizona.
Throw that tank down.
Tank it. Burn it.
So back to men behaving badly. Jacob Panetta. He's a defenseman formerly a defenseman for the Jacksonville Icemen. He was released following making racist gestures towards South Carolina Stingray defenseman Jordan Subban. If that name sounds familiar, that incident was amplified when it was shared on Twitter by his brother PK Subban of the New Jersey Devils.
And I think that Malcolm had quite a bit to say too.
Yeah.
Did you see
not gonna much to do right.
Everybody in the world, that could come out and say something nice about anything. Did you see who was one of the first people in on this that just blew my mind that he has a heart?
Was it Marshawn?
Tom Wilson.
Oh, Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson came out on Twitter and he's like, I completely stand with Jordan Subban. This has no place in hockey. Like, just all this nice guy stuff, man. It kind of made me sick.
Well, you remember how everyone hated Sean Avery? But he was like when it came to issues, especially in the LGBTQ community, that he was the first to stand up and call that out.
Yeah, I think that Sean Avery has a gay brother.
That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure that I heard on Spit and Chicklets he was talking about dealing with his brother getting picked on whenever they were kids or something, and he really had a big place in his heart for that community. So
yeah, see, I think a lot of 90% of all this stuff that goes on in the NHL, it's almost like wrestling. It's kind of an act, what they do on the ice, but off the ice, it's like all the fighters. When you talk to the fighters in the NHL, those guys are
nicest
like
guys
dudes in the world. Like Rob,
yeah.
I met Rob Ray at a celebrity wine thing in Atlanta back in 2008. Nicest dude in the world. Like he stopped and he had a 15-minute conversation with me while all these people were, raving about this wine or that wine. He was, happy to talk Sabres hockey. I always say that hockey players are the nicest athletes when it comes to dealing with,
for sure. Yeah.
With the fans. I saw it when I was in Atlanta when they had their training camp. They're always happy to sit there and sign and talk and hang out with you. Never got that kind of access in football or baseball. So
yeah, man. I mean, there's a few guys that are kind of notorious for being jerks, but it's not the whole sport.
Ray Ferraro was a jerk.
I tell you who is really, really bad. Laine.
Oh, I could see that.
I don't know if he's bad or if he has some type of social anxiety.
Yeah, it could be.
Because he didn't act mean. He was just very disinterested in talking to anybody. And, I got the chance to meet him in Columbus, and I said hi, and he was like, hi, and he just walked away. And then there was, a Rocket that was like, Laine, and he's like, hi. And he gave her the exact same treatment as me. So I think that he's just a really awkward dude.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go off too much on it, but Ferraro was, by the time I saw him in Atlanta, he was ready to go. Like he wanted to be traded out of Atlanta. And I think he kind of took it out on the fans. No one had a really nice thing to say about him among the fan community there.
Dude,
but
Arizona to Atlanta.
I mean, I've made my feelings clear about why Atlanta failed both times.
Different ownership.
It was ownership and economics in the first case, the Atlanta housing market crashing. They've got the arena. It's now State Farm. It used to be Phillips Arena. It's going to be – they'll be very hard-pressed to put a third team in Atlanta, I think.
Well, I don't know if you can really count the Atlanta Flames as a failure because at that time, pretty much any expansion team just fumbled and fell.
Yeah, they were all struggling. It wasn't like they were, kind of handed –
because you had in that same time frame, you had Cleveland, you had
it was
Kansas City, you had Oakland.
It
wasn't a good time to expand hockey.
Well, you also had the WHA folding and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
there was a lot going on there.
Yeah, it was a bad financial time. It was the time of stagflation, and sounds kind of like
nobody wanted to spend their gas ration to go to the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was, or your house, your home loan would be like a 18% loan rate. Like now, people squawk if it goes above 3%. So, it was just a bad time for Atlanta in 1980, and then just the completely inept ownership group of the Atlanta Thrashers that really just drove that team out, and because it never allowed them to get footing, like make 2 playoffs, they would have been fine. When they were that year that they made the playoffs, I went to a couple games, one against Philadelphia that they lost 1-0, and one they played against Buffalo and they won it in overtime. And that arena was rocking. Like it was completely packed. They had people there, and it was just really good hockey. And they allowed it to wither. First Hossa gets traded off, and then Kovalchuk goes, and they tried to build around Evander Kane, and well, we know how that goes. So, it just it became too much, and the league never really fought for the Thrashers like they fought for the Coyotes and some of the other, like the Islanders and the Penguins.
Well, yeah, it wasn't Bettman's idea.
Yeah.
If the Thrashers were Bettman's idea, then they'd still be there.
Well, yeah, Bettman. I mean, it was Bettman's gamble to put a team in the desert. So,
well, obviously it works. All right, because Vegas is doing fantastic.
It does.
It just doesn't work for us.
It's ownership. Like you've got to have competent, committed ownership to build a successful franchise.
And
how many owners has Arizona had in the last 20 years?
I mean, 2 years ago we were doing fantastic, and then the whole Chaika situation happened, and
yeah, I mean, that hurt. It shouldn't have been a death knell.
Something was gonna be. That just happened to be the thing that we landed on.
Yeah, but
ownership was pretty bad too. Alex, I think that the owner actually has really good intentions. He's done a lot for the team.
So do you think he's the one that moves the team, or do you think he's just sells the team for it to move?
He's going to sell out. The whole concept of Alex's ownership of the Coyotes is, he's the first Hispanic hockey team owner. He's all about, Sugar Skull Night and selling tamales in the concession stands. And
that's the reason to go to a game. Like, why aren't they going to the? I mean, I get it. You're in Arizona, you can get tamales everywhere. I would love to have tamale sales.
I'd love to have it. Yeah. I actually, for this trip that I'm going on to Florida for the store, I've spent more time researching the best tamales in the area I'm going to be in than I have the actual places I'm going for work. So, but yeah, man, I don't, maybe there's a chance if they go to Houston, he would consider the move. I feel like he's so Phoenix based and so Phoenix oriented that it's not going to happen. And weird thought, but if there's anybody in this world that would be interested in buying the Coyotes and turning the franchise into something, Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
Dude loves Texas, loves sports, knows how to rebuild a franchise. I mean,
but he's Dallas based. I don't know if he goes.
He is Dallas based, but Dallas already has a team. If they go to Houston,
there's tons of money in Houston. They're going to find somebody, probably oil money.
Quentin Byfield just scored his first NHL goal.
Oh, hey, congrats to Quentin Byfield.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's 0-0, I believe, at the hat for the United States versus El Salvador. They need to win this game. They don't win this game, even though they're in second place in their qualification group, it's going to be a tough slog to qualify because they got 2 difficult games coming up against Honduras, and the group leader is Canada. So we'll see what happens with that.
But yeah, man, Mark Cuban would be a pretty cool owner for a team. I think that he would find a lot of ways to merchandise it.
I don't know if the NHL owners will be ready for a guy like. I mean, they bucked so hard against a guy like Jim Balsillie. They kind of eschewed like these controversial owners. Like you don't see Dan Snyder in the NHL. You don't see a Jerry Jones in the NHL. It's
Yeah,
a
but the
pretty
thing
conservative
about
group. I think
Cuban,
Ed Snyder is probably the most. I don't even call him controversial.
I think that the appeal of Cuban though would be if Mark Cuban buys an NHL team, he has such a cult following of people that just worship Mark Cuban. They would go to games because Mark Cuban owns that team.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the vibe in the owners group will accept Cuban as an owner. In that, what if Mark Cuban starts bucking the system when it comes to the NHL ownership group?
Somebody needs to.
Yeah, I think in some
I think
ways
it would be a good thing. I think that it actually would be a positive thing for the NHL to have somebody like Mark Cuban step in and go, "Hey, you're doing it wrong," because the dude's probably right.
Yeah, but even the danger always is that you end up with a guy like Dan Snyder, who just really runs the team into the ground and does everything basically for the dollar rather than putting together a decent product for the fan.
Yeah, but if
So,
he could find a way to love hockey as much as he loves basketball,
oh
it
yeah,
would probably be the most beloved team outside of the original six.
could be. I mean, you put a team in Houston. Houston is so big now. I mean, it's such a
It's
It's
getting
the
bigger
fourth
every day.
largest. It's the fourth largest city. My niece just moved to Houston. It's the fourth largest city in the country, and it's probably going to move past Chicago sometime in the next few years. Um, you know,
Chicago's there's a lot of people leaving Illinois.
oh
Like
yeah, I mean,
everybody that gets a chance to leave Illinois is out because the taxes have gone so crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised if Houston ends up being the largest city in the country. I mean, New York's going to have to fall a long way. It's going to be the fact that Houston just grows faster than New York. But
Well, right
uh,
now, have you seen what's going on with the apartment market in New York?
I mean, it's always been just hard.
No, I mean it's like the prices of a lot of these shoebox apartments that used to be like $2,000 a month
Yeah,
are now like reasonable, like $600-700 a month because nobody's moving to New York. Everybody that was in food service in New York City left because of COVID because they didn't have a job.
yeah,
And the guys that are painting their nails in the bathroom are not going to go work construction until food service comes back. It's just not going to happen.
yeah,
So, now like the apartment market in New York is crashed. The bar market in New York is crashed. I
yeah,
don't think that New York's going to be on top much longer. It seems like anybody, LA, they just ran out of U-Hauls in LA.
yeah.
They cannot get enough trucks for all the people that want to leave LA. Like, it seems like the more liberal cities are losing population faster than
Oh
anywhere.
yeah. I mean, that's been
Chicago, New York, Detroit is not a liberal city, and it's gaining momentum like crazy. People are moving to Detroit every day by the busload. Industry's finally starting to come back. Downtown's actually nice. Last time I was in Detroit, it was a really nice city. Um, they're tearing down the old stuff. They're putting up apartment complexes like 5 a day. So
yeah.
I think that we could see an interesting shift soon in a lot of things, and I think that the fan base of the NHL will follow that.
And I think that what you're going to see also is that the stronger teams in the NHL are going to continue to be teams in Florida, teams in Dallas, teams in the Southern tier. Nashville, I think, is going to be a good place because these are low tax places, and the contracts are going to go much further in a place like Dallas
For
or
sure.
Nashville than it will in Winnipeg or Vancouver.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think Toronto is always going to get their players because it's such a sexy place to play.
Right.
When
It's the
Montreal is
prestige.
going to get players, Montreal's going to get players because of their history, which is why I'm saying that Quebec City's not going to get a hockey team because there's no draw other than I need a job in the NHL to go play for the Quebec Nordiques. Um, so yeah, I mean the economic shift of what's going on. People are voting with their feet right now, and you're seeing people move south. And it's not just the weather. I mean, if it was the weather, people would stay in California.
Well, if it was the weather, they probably would have wound up south whenever they went looking for that big corporate job.
Yeah, absolutely. So, good news though. We got a couple of hires. Patrick Alvin, I believe he's a Swede, second Swede to get a general manager job. He's the general manager of the Canucks. He was the assistant general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins. The second hire, well, there's three hires actually. Emily Castonguay has been named the assistant general manager of the Canucks. This is noteworthy because she's the first woman since 1996-97 to be named an assistant general manager. Angela Gorgon held that role for the Anaheim Ducks for a year before moving to the new National Predators at that time. But we haven't had a woman assistant GM in 25 years. So congrats to her. This marks a shift. One of the other hires was Kent Hughes. A couple of weeks ago was named GM of the Montreal Canadiens. He's going to have to rebuild that team that went to the finals last year that's stuck in the bottom of the NHL right now. But
I wish they'd give it up, dude. Just win some games, Montreal. Come on, help us out.
Hughes, Castonguay, and Florida's Bill Zito mark a kind of shift now where you're seeing former player agents move into NHL front offices. It'll be interesting to see how these teams do in free agency moving forward because, I mean, you've seen how Florida's been really successful under Bill Zito. But Kent Hughes was, one of the biggest player agents out there. And then Castonguay has also been a player agent for several years. Does that give them the advantage of, going into the negotiating room with, say, perhaps a former client, or with the agencies they worked with, they'll be able to work with those players a lot better because there is that familiarity that's already been built. But it's an interesting concept to see all these player agents move into the front office. I'm nice to see that we're seeing more women get jobs in the NHL. You got Haley Wickenheiser. You've got what is her name? With there's two with the Kraken. The director of player scouting and I'm completely drawing a blank. She was a Canadian Olympic hero.
She was a girl. He was a boy.
Yes.
Could it be any more obvious?
Yeah.
No, I know who you're talking about. I suck at names, dude.
Is it Cameron Granado? Maybe.
Anyway, stuff and things.
You're starting to see many more women getting into much higher role jobs within the NHL, and I at some point you're going to see that first woman general manager of the team, building a team from probably not ground up, but at least getting that chance to build a team and try and win a cup. Let's see, a couple of contracts. We announced the Evander Kane that was breaking earlier, going to Edmonton, and Jeff Carter has signed an extension with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they are talking about extending Malkin and Letang.
I don't know if that's a good play.
No, that's not a good idea at all.
I really don't like that.
I mean, it depends on how.
I get it. I mean, they're franchise guys. Like, the history of Malkin and Letang in Pittsburgh is.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how long
this is kind of like re-signing Paul Coffey whenever he's 35 years old. It's just, I understand why you did it. I don't think it's a good idea, but I get it.
If you do like a 2-3 year contract, I'm okay with that. I mean, I still think that the Pittsburgh Penguins need to move on. They're having too good of a season at the point to do that. I get why they're talking the extension, but yeah, they need to move on. and we hear the dog in the background. Dog doing dog things. But yeah, if Malkin, I mean, I think Malkin's got a couple good seasons left in him, and I think Letang does too. The problem is they've got to, they're having such a good season this season that Malkin, you can't trade him in the middle of the season, but you're
No,
running out of
it's
running.
just, yeah, man. They're to the point now to where they're going to have to start trimming fat before it festers.
Yeah.
And extension is a really big word for somebody that's got that much age on them.
Yeah, I mean, 5 year. I mean, if you're doing a 5-year contract, you're taking Malkin late into his 30s.
I really was expecting Malkin to end up on Seattle. I feel like that's a Seattle pickup if I ever saw one, because it's a long shot that might play out and it probably won't, and that just seems like something that they would do, just from their track record so far. So, I understand why Pittsburgh's trying to hang on to him. I mean, I would say the Malkin's still one of the high-selling jerseys that they're pumping out in Pittsburgh.
I mean, I like Malkin better than I like Crosby.
Yeah, me too. It's just
personality-wise.
Man, it's time to move on. It's not the Pittsburgh dynasty anymore. The dynasty is gone, and it would be a really good time for them to just accept it. Dog.
Yeah.
Go on in there.
So let's go to hot not teams. Let's take a look at who do you have hot in the Eastern Conference?
Right now, my big ones are Nashville and Pittsburgh. Of course, there are better picks. The Canes are on fire still. Tampa's starting to Tampa. Now that Stamkos is going to be out for a little bit, I kind of wonder where that's going to take him, but they've never had a problem without him before.
Yeah.
I think that Nashville is kind of the underdog with really long teeth and really weird mustard-colored jerseys. But, I like Trashville this year. It looks good on them to actually win something, and I aspire for Arizona to one day win something as well.
Yeah, Nashville's a good pick. I mean, they're second in the Central right now, although they're behind St. Louis and Minnesota on points percentage. They played 44 games, which is, I believe, the most in the division. And St. Louis and Minnesota are lagging far behind. They'll have a busy month of February.
Well, you said the East, didn't you?
Well, East and West.
Okay.
So Pittsburgh, which is Pittsburgh's on a 6-game run. They've been hot. They're up to second in the Metropolitan Division. And they're second in the division. With all the COVID games lost and all that stuff, the Rangers were leading on points, but
the Rangers have been on a hot streak too.
But they're the third team in points percentage behind Carolina, who's at 744, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I didn't think that Adam Fox was deserving of the Norris last year by any means. But, if this year was last year, then I probably would be a little more apt to say go for it.
Yeah, I didn't like that he got the, off of one good season that he got the Norris. Now, I know that it's a season award, but it's traditionally been an award that you kind of have to grow into. You have to deserve it for a couple seasons before you get it. And it's not like they gave it to, a wrong player with when players were kind of coming up. It was, guys were winning it for like eight of 9 years or something like that. And, you'd had to prove yourself for a couple of years to really get your name in there. Let's see. For me, yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh definitely is one of the hotter teams. They just been, kind of roasting through the West Coast, and they came back. They've got Malkin back now. I don't trust that team in the playoffs, though. I really don't. And I don't know why. And I think it's just because I just don't trust that team overall.
They've done two. Last year they kind of did this too. Last year they pulled a rabbit out of the hat and showed it off for a little while, and then kind of fizzled out pretty quick. So I guess that now it's just some of the younger guys, Brian Rust, Jake Gazental, those guys. If they're finally coming into their own and they're going to be consistent, this is going to be the time for them to do it.
Yep.
Whether or not they will, that's really where my question lies with them. Hey, go Canes.
All right. Still 0-0 in U.S. and Salvador, which is at the 49th minute of the second half. So,
Eric Stepan.
Nice.
Miss him.
But let's see. In the West, Colorado, man, they're rolling right now. They earlier in the season we were like, what's up with Colorado? They're not doing really hot, and now they've gone up. They're first in the division on points percentage. It's not a fluke thing. They got 63 points. They're on a 8-game winning streak, and the point streak is a little bit longer. Their only loss in the last 10 was an overtime loss. So, and they look every bit of it. Now we'll see how the injury to Nathan McKinnon shakes out, whether he's out for a few games or not. But still, they're one of the few teams, I think, less than them and Florida and Carolina are the three teams with single-digit losses on the season. So
I still worry about Colorado's playoff performance. They're like the best regular season team that has absolutely nothing going for them in the playoffs every single time.
Well, their goaltending trash.
Yeah, if the playoffs were regular season, Colorado would be on their third cup in a row right now.
Yeah.
So, it really makes you wonder how far they're going to be able to take it. Would I be upset to see Colorado win one? No, they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. I definitely don't want to see a three-peat in Tampa. Now I've kind of went to like the anybody but Tampa school of thought, but personal feelings aside, I think that Colorado's put forth the work to get a cup, and now we're just going to see how it pans out. I guess they're still in the running for Patrick Waugh. Carey Price.
I don't know where Carey Price ends up.
Carey Price is probably going to end up somewhere stupid like Anaheim.
I will laugh my ass off.
I kind of hope he does. Maybe Buffalo can get him.
No, Buffalo. There's no way Buffalo gets it back into the playoff race at this point. All right, who are your not teams?
Oh, of course, Arizona's on the list for the West. Dallas is on the list for the West. And then East.
Well, Dallas won a 4-game run, man.
Yeah, but Dallas still is not looking good. They're on a 4-game run, but it's like, it's one of those runs that has a foreseeable ending.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting for the Klingberg. Oh, U.S. scored. Goal. 1-0. And the 52nd minute of the game. And I don't see who scored, but anyway.
Nobody would know. Nobody's going to know if you say the name here.
Although, you know what? I tell you what, the United States has some exciting young players on their team. Christian Pulisic.
I heard you say that guy's name just now.
Yeah, Christian Pulisic. He just touched the ball. He didn't get the primary. You get the. They don't really do primaries, just like they do in hockey. I still haven't seen this guy's name. It is. Oh, I can't. Yeah, never mind. Who cares?
Yeah.
All right.
That's right. Who cares?
Yeah, Dallas. I mean, we're waiting for the shoe to drop on the Klingberg deal because he
Like I said,
requested a trade.
Dallas has a foreseeable end to what they've got going on right now.
Yeah.
And for their track record of what's gone on before right now, I would say that that's enough for me to say that Dallas is a no-go. I want to like them. I really want to like Dallas. I mean, I like Dallas, so and it's a team that would be cool to see win a cup.
Yeah.
Wish they'd have done it 2 years ago. You'll have that on these big jobs in the big show. But
Yeah.
my not for the East is absolutely Boston.
What did Boston do?
Oh, go Ottawa. Boston's falling apart, dude.
Uh,
Boston's falling apart, and they still have Brad Marchand. That's enough.
yeah.
Not
I
like
mean,
same thing with my other knot, Washington. They have Ovechkin. They have Oshie. They have everything except goaltending. What is going on in Washington that is preventing them from actually performing right now?
I don't know.
I'd say that it's trash
I
can
think
Tom.
part of it.
I would blame Tom
Well,
entirely.
you'll blame Tom for
It's
that.
always Tom's fault.
You're blaming Tom for the duopoly.
I blame Tom for my failed relationships.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 3-6-1 in the last 10, and losers are 2 straight. It's goaltending there, and that's why Washington's been mentioned in the Carey Price
situation.
sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is they keep relying on Samsonov, and I don't think he's the better of the 2 goaltenders that they have. I think Vanacek is a much better goaltender than Samsonov.
I agree.
Well,
I think that it's because they drafted him, and they're.
They thought so well of Vanacek that they dealt for him back. I mean, Vanacek was probably one of the better picks that Seattle made, but they dealt for him back because the signing of Grubauer, and so that meant that Vanacek had was not going to get any gameplay. So Washington dealt a pick back to Seattle, and I don't know. I mean, I think that they're riding the wrong horse right now, and that's the reason why they're in that Carey Price conversation. I just don't know how they make it work contract wise.
Yeah, there's a lot of shuffling that will have to go on before the deadline, before the Carey Price conversation actually starts.
Yeah, anywhere he goes, because every team with a flat cap, every team is, I mean, outside of Buffalo and Arizona, are pretty much up against it.
Yeah,
and
that kind of makes you wonder too, though. And we've had talks about this before on having a few more teams in the league.
Yeah,
would it be more interesting to have 2 more teams, or would it be more interesting to have a salary cap that's $10 million higher than it is now?
No, because owners are dumb enough to, if you give them a $10 million more salary cap, they're going to give Jeff Skinner another $10 million. Like, it's not going to give you more players. It's just going to give you really bad contracts.
Yeah, which that's kind of funny in its own right, though, right? I mean, look at Minnesota.
Yeah.
You ever seen somebody throw so much money at a wall that it actually stacks up against a wall instead of sticks?
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota was so desperate when Parise and it was an experiment because they were both hometown guys and they wanted to have that draw, which I don't know why you're really going that hard to draw people to watch hockey in Minnesota. The problem with the hockey,
you don't even have to try in Minnesota. You're competing with college hockey in Minnesota.
No,
that's the biggest thing.
In the high school.
In the high school.
Hair team. No,
all hair.
Yeah. No, I mean, you didn't have to compete that hard. The problem with Minnesota Wild at that point was they were just playing a dismal brand of trap style hockey at that point. You just had to open it up a little bit. And now they've got Kirill Kaprizov. You don't have to bring in guys like Parise and Suter to put butts in the seats. Just play some compelling hockey.
Which right now, man, Minnesota. If I was going to pick a team out of the West to make a serious playoff run, outside of Colorado, I don't think it could be anybody but Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm loving Kirill, man. I am so glad that he came to America.
Yeah, and the Pacific Division is just the division of mediocrity right now. Like,
yeah, I know. Well,
nobody's really doing that well right now. Edmonton finally ended their skid. They got a couple wins in a row, but they're still sixth right now. We were talking about Dallas. Dallas could conceivably. I don't see Dallas cracking the top four of the Central. I mean, I think Nashville, Colorado, St. Louis, and Minnesota are all much better than Dallas. But Dallas could make the playoffs just because they could catch Calgary, or actually they're tied on points with Calgary. And they would take, the Central Division takes both wild card races, and I wouldn't count out. Winnipeg has just been scuffling. I don't know what's going on with Winnipeg.
Winnipeg has so much potential and does nothing with it.
Yeah. Why not? Of course, Philadelphia. I mean, they're just
floundering.
Oh, holy cow.
Yeah, it's bad in Philly. It's bad times.
Yeah.
It is not always sunny in Philadelphia. Just go to Wells Fargo Center. You'll see it.
Ooh, I don't want to get a battery thrown at me, man. Buffalo handled them pretty easily the other night. Although, of course, they allowed Rasmus Ristolainen to score, which is a frequent theme of Buffalo Sabres games. Every time Buffalo plays a noteworthy player of their past, they always score on them. Ristolainen did it. Tyler Ennis scored a hat trick the other night with the in the Ottawa game. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that happens with every team, but it feels like every time Buffalo plays a team that they, a player that they once had on the team, they get scored on. Taylor Hall scores on the Buffalo Sabres. He never scored in Buffalo.
Yeah, he never scored in Arizona either. So
yeah,
like 7.
Yeah, and let's see, in the Western Conference. Boy, I mean, I'm just gonna have to call out the entire Pacific Division. They're
seriously,
all
dude.
500
Everybody's
over the last.
Yeah,
They're all 500 except for Seattle over the last week. And,
everybody's been feasting on the Pacific.
Yeah, except for Seattle. Seattle had a good run against Florida. Like the 2 games they play Florida this year, they've won both of them, which makes no sense at all. Best team in the East versus the worst team in the West, and Seattle beats them both times. I don't get it. I think they just, Florida kind of looked past them or something.
It would be easy to do.
It is. I mean, Seattle's been Seattle. Like, we can see this when they did that expansion draft. I thought that they did okay with some of the free agent signings. They just don't have enough.
Seattle's a senior team.
Yeah.
I mean, Seattle is like,
which makes no sense.
Half the team's ready to retire.
Yeah, it made no sense because you think, well, you either build a senior team to compete, or you draft a bunch of young players that have good upside. And
they did the worst of both of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I honestly think that they expected Jordan Eberle to perform worse than he has. And they just accidentally got a good Jordan Eberle, and everybody else just kind of sucks.
They're lone all-star. Yeah. Speaking of all-stars, since Drake Batherson was the Ottawa representative, he is being replaced by Tkachuk. So Brady was very mad at Aaron Dell the other night. He tried to get Aaron Dell's face a couple times. But Dell wouldn't respond.
Yeah,
he laughed at Brady Tkachuk. I mean, that was pretty much all that happened. But I guess he kind of respects the code that you don't throw a punch on a goaltender.
Yeah, well, there's very few rules in hockey that you cannot break. and I would have loved to have seen what would have happened to Chuck if he did try that, because it doesn't really matter what that goaltender does unless he comes at you explicitly for a fight.
Yeah.
If you try to fight a goaltender, you're gonna have a bad time.
Well, it was like,
that's like get jumped in the parking lot by fans bad.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So our question of the week is top 5 goaltenders. Who are your top 5 goaltenders right now?
Oh. Yeah, that's about it. No. No, man. The whole goaltending team in Carolina, both of the main goaltenders that I did not expect to perform to the standard they have, especially Freddie.
Yeah,
Freddie really's impressed me. It's kind of weird. I was super, super upset about the Nedeljkovic deal. I guess somebody in Carolina knew what they were doing, and I still wish that they would have kept him. But, to see the level of competency out of Carolina that we have, I'm pretty satisfied with what ended up happening from that deal. I think that it's more of a you got lucky than it is anything else. But, my top 2 goaltenders in the league are on the same team, and I think that says quite a bit. Rangers goaltending's been insanely good.
Yeah, Igor Shesterkin is amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't really expect Shesterkin to be the one of the two to step up. I think that there's been that big spin with Giordano for forever. Or not Giordano.
Georgiev,
yeah. There was so much expectation from him, and I actually thought that he's going to live up to it. But, Shesterkin's put such a show on that it's so hard to compete with him. Goaltending in Nashville has been fantastic. I think that's the main contributing factor to how well they're doing.
Oh, yeah. Saros is carrying that team.
They're eating shots like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, even they're like, if you watch a Nashville penalty kill right now, they're not actually playing defense like a normal penalty kill team because they've allowed so many shots to go to him. And he's actually put up really well with it. They have a really low scored on the power play. So, there's a few guys that are stepping up that are impressing me. Last year was kind of no man's land for goaltending. Everybody was pretty on par with the suck. This year, there's some guys that are actually starting to show through that, have the serious potential to step up and be a cup contending goaltender.
Yeah. I'll go for a couple. I agree with Shesterkin. Shesterkin's playing well. I think Saros is in that conversation. Of course, you've got to call out Vasilevsky in Tampa.
I think Vasilevsky's kind of that unspoken. If he's in the league, he's going to be Vasi.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically plexiglass in front of the goal. I mean,
well, he's too big, man.
Big. Yeah,
you can't get around him.
He's like one of those, indoor lacrosse goalies. If you've ever seen those guys, they're just,
he's the Walrus from the Geico commercial.
Yeah. Let's see.
Vasilevsky's so good that I actually forget that he exists.
This team's coming up, and it was such a bad start to the season that they're still kind of low. But Ilya Sorokin with the Islanders is really putting.
You still have faith in the Islanders, don't you?
Pretty decent. I mean, they've got 35 games played. They're at 36 points. They are well behind the Capitals. I don't know that. I don't think that they make the playoffs unless one of the top 4 just falls off the planet. They're not going to catch Carolina. They likely won't catch the Rangers or Pittsburgh. The Capitals, if they continue to get subpar goaltending, then that they can make a case there. It would waste a tremendous season by Ovechkin if they did that. But Ilya Sorokin's playing better, and that's why the Islanders are 7-2-1 in the last 10. But let's see, Sorokin. You know what? Jacob Markstrom in Calgary.
Yeah, that's been an interesting
Are
guy
you
to
there?
watch. He performed so badly for so long that for him to actually come back and have a good season's been pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean they're not they're like the rest of the Pacific Division are scuffling right now. 500 hockey to the last 10. But they're tied for the lowest goals against in the league, and Markstrom is getting the majority of the minutes there. So, good on him for kind of turning his, turning it around from last season. Last season was a struggle for Calgary.
Calgary has an interesting defense.
Well, I
Their
mean,
defense is always something else to watch because it's so offensively oriented.
and Calgary has the second highest points percentage in the Pacific Division. The problem is they had all those games postponed because of the Canadian travel ban. Um, I think as things shake out, Calgary will move up, Anaheim and Los Angeles will move down. Um, just based on the games in hand that they have. They have 5 in on Los Angeles, and they have 8 games in hand on Anaheim.
Speaking of Anaheim, Trevor Zegras just pulled a Michigan.
Oh, did he?
He did.
What a jerk. Sorry.
Yeah, him and Sonny Milano are two guys to watch.
Yeah.
As far as like underrated rookies go, or close to rookies, both those guys are doing really well.
They're both considered rookies. I think Milano maybe not.
I think Milano's second year, technically.
Well, I don't know that anybody who played last year, unless they played all 56 games, qualifies. The way that the Calder voting goes, I think they consider them rookies up until a certain number of games. And I don't know that. I think it's in like the 60s. So,
well, the real guy to watch, of course, indisputably, it's Philip Tomasino.
Well, you and Phil Tomasino, man.
So now I actually own all 3 printing plates. One of one autographed printing plates of Philip Tomasino from his rookie year in the Canadian League.
Dude, I mean, you're just going to have to go drive to Nashville and propose.
Yeah, right. I love Tomasino. It's awesome.
All right, man. Well, you got anything else for the week? I know
that's it.
On the road to Florida. Colorado.
Yeah, man. I'm
bath salts.
I'm hoping. Yeah, right. Eat a cop face. I'm hoping that this is going to be a pretty good trip. So we had a lady come in yesterday, and she just walked around the store, and we followed her around, and she was pointing at things she wanted, and we were carrying them up front, and it took me all of 2 hours to wrap everything. So she actually almost bought me out of Pyrex and Rare Blinko. She bought 5 pieces of Pyrex that totaled over $1,000.
Nice.
Yeah. So I really need Pyrex.
Yeah.
If you have Pyrex, hit that thing and go there and tell me, and I will bring you cash money.
Yeah.
Deep in Antiques in Beckley, West Virginia.
Yeah, if you ever find yourself going out to West Virginia, stopping in Beckley, West Virginia.
Or if you're going up the seaboard or down the seaboard, we are on 64 and 77. We're right at the split. We're about 4 minutes off the interstate, unless you hit the red light, and then we're about 6.
Nice. So, yeah, drop on by and give Travis some business. Give him your money.
Yeah, or just come look at my hockey stuff and talk hockey, because we don't get a lot of that unless you're a tiny man who's an Islanders fan.
What's it with Islanders fan?
I loved him, dude. He just looked at me. He's like, "Yeah, you're a big one."
Oh my goodness. All right, y'all. Thanks everyone for watching us. Again, if you're driving down the East Coast or heading west from the coast, stop into the Deep End Antiques in Beckley, West Virginia.
We love
And,
you. You don't have to buy anything. Stop and say hi.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
might find something. You might not. I don't care. Somebody
Oh,
else
you
will
had
buy
like
it.
a bunch of Army surplus bags and all
Yeah,
kinds of
dude.
cool stuff.
So I've finally broken into the surplus market. I've actually got some good resources to buy things on the surplus market.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to get into, and I am undercutting everybody else's prices by at least 30%. That's the goal. If I can't undercut the next lowest price I can find by 30%, I'm not buying in bulk. So anything I have in bulk, it's going to be the best deal you can find because I am buying it and moving it quick.
Yeah.
So right now I have like close to 50 M17 gas mask bags. They are pretty sick. Russian AK slings. I probably have the largest collection of communist Russia stuff in West Virginia. If Yeah, I'm not a commie. Actually, so before we go, I was
guidelines.
I was talking to a guy from Ukraine, or no, I'm sorry, from Poland, and he had some commie stuff to send over to me. But his dad was a resistance fighter
Nice.
in the USSR, fought against the USSR, and I talked to this guy for like 2 weeks. He's a pretty cool dude. He's also a hockey fan, and he finally went to send me a package, and it got intercepted in Russia, full of communist stuff, which is illegal to export. And it actually did not have any communist stuff in it, which is what I purchased. It had a loaded pinned OC gas grenade that he was trying to send to me because he thought that I was lying about collecting communist stuff to keep the commie atrocities alive and make sure that people were aware of what they did. And instead, I was actually a sympathizer for the Communist Party, and I was trying to buy everything up. Anyway, if you buy stuff from Poland, maybe put it through an X-ray machine first, or wear a gas mask whenever you open it. And if you need a gas mask bag to keep that gas mask in, I have plenty in stock. Everybody have a good night.
The moral of the story: buy Travis's gas mask.
Buy my gas mask bags,
There you go.
M17A1s. Get them while they're hot.
Well, thanks everybody. We'll talk to everyone next week on the Thursday night
Hockey show.
Woohoo!